Aloha, all of my fellow astrology lovers out there. This is Kyle with Vision Quest Astrology. Welcome back to my channel. I am very glad to have you all with me, and especially at such a potent time, at the time of the full moon lunar eclipse and our soon-to-be new moon solar eclipse. And I wanted to sit with you guys and talk for a little bit about what that means, what the significance of this one is, and the really potent period of energy that we're in that takes place in the 2 weeks between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. So as you all know, or I'm assuming you would all know, is that we just had a full moon lunar eclipse in Leo. The moon was in Leo, sun in Aquarius, and that just happened on the 10th of February. And yeah, the energy has gotten heightened, you guys. This is kind of what always happens. I think it's pretty fairly commonly known in the astrology community, whenever you attach an eclipse to a full moon or a new moon, it heightens it times like 100. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed or feeling anxious or just a little kind of a buzzing effect feeling, it doesn't even have to be anxiety or overwhelmed, just kind of feel kind of an extra spurt that you normally don't feel, that could possibly be why. There's no doubt that when we have an eclipse, that with the sun being in Aquarius, there's always a very electric feeling that comes around with that Uranus type of energy, and it has a way of shaking you up. And so this one being the full moon lunar eclipse, you know, opposing the sun, we had the moon in Leo, which is, to me, the brightest light in astrology. There, with this eclipse, is a very going towards the light effect that's happening, is what I've noticed in talking to a lot of people, and what I felt in myself is, you know, there is no denying that Leo is the brightest light. It is that light that everyone gravitates towards, and there is a certain level of darkness in all of us, and you look at the world at large, what's going on right now, and it would be very easy for people to be consumed with that. And so as humans, I think we are always going to gravitate towards what is light and what is what is pure in essence. And there is that very pure childlike effect about the Leo energy that is so inviting and regal and sassy in its essence in a lot of ways, and it draws you right in. And so with this eclipse, especially the day of it being exact, yesterday as I'm filming this video, there was this feeling of excitement and kind of this ecstasy in the air. There is kind of that feeling that comes along with Leo too. And so, but while you're looking at that, you have to look at where it's being opposed by with the Aquarius sun. And where it gets interesting is with all of that light and all of that shiny glamour, you do have on the other side of that Aquarius, and Aquarius is sharing itself and its authenticity in a very unique way, in a way that, whereas Leo might kind of be a little bit more tried and tested, I wouldn't say predictable, but maybe a more acceptable route by society and people at large, Aquarius is going to go about everything in this way that is different, that's unique, that's off the beaten path, that is the last thing you would possibly expect. Just like Leo, it does have its pride and its ego invested in everything that it does. And no matter what, it's always going to have that at stake. And so just as the Leo with its grand gestures and its kind of like almost celebrity presence, the Aquarius thinks of its ideas and its innovations in the same exact way, and its ego and its pride are invested in it. So we have to look at right now, where is our ego showing up and where is our pride showing up, and is it operating in a healthy way? Is it not so healthy and running the show in a way that is destructive to our character and to our personality and how we're being perceived, how we even perceive ourselves? And I think it's very important to note at the time of this eclipse, this very important eclipse, is that the ego and pride is not a bad thing. It's not something to be vanished and eradicated and to hate and to somehow transcend and enlighten and overcome and somehow be rid of it. I feel that shaming the ego is one of the worst things we can do for ourselves. We are given pride and an ego for a reason. It's just as much a part of us as our heart, as our emotions, as our eyes, so we can see. The pride and the ego is, in a lot of ways, it does protect us in life. Sometimes it overprotects us, sometimes it underprotects us, depending on how we're operating with it. But the ego is, in essence, not bad. The ego is just as much a part of us as anything else, and it needs to be checked in like everything else, like our mind, our emotions, our heart, our physical body, and how we treat it and our relationship to it is so monumental. You know, what is your relationship with your ego? I've had to look at mine and see, okay, am I a little bit too humbled here, and am I not humbled here enough? Do I let, you know, in looking at our confidence, because confidence is a beautiful thing to have, you guys. I think people undermine confidence and think, oh, I'm gonna sound cocky if I say this, or I'm gonna look like I'm full of myself if I do that. But no, if you have confidence in yourself and pride invested in your art, in your passion, in your work, in your schooling, whatever it is that you do, you are going to set an example for other people. That's going to inspire others. It's going to make you feel good about yourself, because if you don't have that, what do you have at the end of the day? If you're not rooting for you and showing other people that you love yourself and you value yourself, and yeah, some of that does come from ego and pride, but if it's aligned with your heart in the most highest expression that it can be, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with loving you and being okay in your own skin and in your own shoes, and just totally expressing that with everyone and everywhere you go? Now that we've kind of gone all into the full moon lunar eclipse, everyone, I did want to talk about the new moon solar eclipse that we're going to be having 2 weeks from now, which is going to be on the 26th of February. And that one is going to be occurring in Pisces. The sun and moon will both be new in Pisces. And I could not think of a better transition from the full moon lunar eclipse, where our ego and our pride is really being, because our self-identity is so heavily invested in the ego and in the pride and in our self-expression. Whereas when you get to the archetype and any energy with Pisces and Neptune in the 12th house, ego and self dissolves and becomes one with everything and everybody and the universe at large. That's one of the things I love the most about Pisces, is that compassion and that universal love and interconnectedness. That we realize this tree, that chair, this person, that person, no matter what race, gender identification, sexual identification, religious background, belief system, whatever, we are connected to everybody, and we discover that in Pisces. And that's what I feel this new moon solar eclipse is going to be coming to. And it is going to be about that universal oneness that we do share. I really encourage all of you, as I'm talking about this, to look back to the last eclipse season we were in, which was about 6 or 5 months ago, back in, I guess beginning in mid-September. The beginning of September, we had a new moon solar eclipse in Virgo, and then we had the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo/Pisces. So now it's kind of like coming around to the opposite side. So always look back to the previous eclipse season, and look at what was going on in your life at the time. What were you doing? What kind of projects were you working on? Where were you at emotionally in your life? What was going on in your mind? What were you working on? And just what was happening in general. And kind of do some taking stock and comparisons to what's going on now at this one, and kind of seeing what's evolved, what's maybe gone a little bit backwards, where have you and I taken steps forward, and just things like that. It's really interesting to see the parallels that take place, and especially with this one, the new moon solar eclipse we're about to enter in a couple weeks being in Pisces, there is that interconnectedness. We see where everything has connected, where all these breadcrumbs and things going on in the spiritual background of things that we can't necessarily see, but that we do feel have been working in our best interest, even if we don't realize it at the time. And it's in that I really believe coincidence doesn't exist. I'll tell you, everybody, lately I've been believing less and less in coincidence and more in fate. Between a lunar and a solar eclipse, there's always going to be that 2 week waiting period. It's the 2 weeks between the two. And the 2 weeks in between any two eclipses is always really a time where you're like in this gateway, you're in this threshold, and there's really important events happening in your life, inwardly, outwardly, and you feel like you're kind of in this bubble for a couple of weeks of like, kind of like a transformation, kind of like you're this butterfly, or I guess first the caterpillar in the cocoon awaiting to be transformed into a butterfly. That's what the 2 weeks feel like to me, especially when you have the lunar eclipse first, followed by the solar eclipse with the new moon, which is what we're about to experience. And so I urge all of you to really take the next couple weeks to really be with yourself, journal, meditate if you're into those kind of things, do anything, whatever your creative passion is or your hobby that whatever it is you do outside of work, to spend time and be with yourself, do that, whatever that is and whatever way it shows up. I really encourage you all to do that, because you're going to really benefit from knowing what it is you want right now, being very clear with what your intentions are, because I will say eclipse season, especially at the new moon solar eclipse, is a wonderful time to set intentions of what you are aspiring to manifest in your life, and to be very conscious of your words and your thoughts and your actions and what you are putting out there, because things are manifesting just like that right now. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. I'm sure I've been a little long-winded. There's just always so much to say, and I appreciate you all so much who watch my videos and leave me feedback. Please check me out at visionquesthealing.com if you want to book an astrology chart reading with me of any kind, or email me directly at visionquestastro@hotmail.com. Thank you, lovely people, and happy transiting. Peace out.